I can take a look at what we did as homework later, but I feel like that's
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. Well. Okay. Well, yeah. You'll look at it after. It's fine.
Marie-Laurence?
Yeah. Is it possible that they don't give us the world price?
No, you can't make it up. I mean,
Okay,
unless well, they wouldn't ask you a game question if they didn't give you a world price, right?
Okay.
So I mean, it's possible, but maybe then you could get different questions, like when we saw in the MCQ where it said we could have said like the world price for pretzels should be in what range, right? It should be between these two. It depends on what they ask you, but if they ask you for a gain from trade, then you need to know the world price.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Luca.
Yeah, I have a question regarding it. So for me, it's just like I put 815.71. Like, what's the rounding? What's the rounding?
Well, as long as you keep 4 decimal places in your work, then whatever you get in your final answer is fine, right? Like your final answer, you can round it to 2 decimal places, but try not to round earlier. So then if you get 15.87 or 71, if you were keeping 4 as you went, then you're good.
Yeah, because I just did 0.33 minus 0.180327869. I just kept it as it is in the calculator.
Your answer is actually better than ours then, because you have more decimals.
Oh, I just kept it like exactly the way it is on the calculator.
Then your answer is the best answer. 815.71, you said?
815.71. I just did 0.33 minus 0.180327869 times 5,450, and I got 815.71.
Very good. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure.
Marie-Laurence?
Oh no, oops, I forgot to lower my hand, sorry.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, old hand too, sorry.
Oh, okay. Let me just go through the thing. Long answers are going to have A and B. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the A and B is going to be, but you can take this and split it into 2 questions, right? Like who has opportunity? Like one A might be a theory question, like who has comparative advantage, who has absolute advantage, what is the opportunity cost? Then B could be calculate the gain from trade. So even though here you don't have A and B, there's a good chance that this is how they, like your A and B would be in here. How many long questions? We have 4, 817 are on the at all. Thanks. Okay. How much are they worth? We don't know. Okay. Looks like we're good with that. Rob, 32.
Okay, so I approached it this way. Correct me if I was wrong.
Everyone who did it, put your answer in the chat. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have the population of Canada, and then we have the population under 15 and over 65. So we don't remove the population of over 65. We keep it. So we just subtract the amount of people that are under 15. So 36,866,201 minus the population of 15. I ended up getting 30,926,004.
Hold on. 30,926,000 and what?
And 4.
4, okay. Good.
Okay. So that's the working population. And so they give us the unemployment rate and the employed. So what I did was I took the employment rate and subtracted, the unemployment rate and subtracted one from it to get the employment rate. So 1 minus 0.096 is 0.904. And then I used the employment rate formula to find the labor force. So I set ER to 0.904 over the employed 17,706,540. And I found that the labor force is 19,586,880.53. So 19,586,880.53. Then the labor force participation rate is labor force over population, working population. So it's with that I got 63.33. So 19,586,880.53 over 30,926,004 gave me 63.33.
You did all that from memory, or did you sheet with your notes?
No, from memory. Like I right away, right off the bat, as soon as I saw this question, instantly I put the 4 formulas down: the unemployment rate, employment rate, labor force participation rate, and labor force at the top left of my sheet. And I was on this question for quite a while, actually, maybe like 10 minutes, and then I had like an epiphany.
Very good. It's perfect, by the way. If you got 66, how do you get 66? You remove the seniors. Is that it?
I want to
No.
know why we removed the seniors.
Because I think what they did was they multiplied 9.6 by the working population to get the unemployed.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Never do that.
Yeah, that's what
So-
I did too.
Okay. So we talked about this, guys. Unemployment rate is not a percentage of the population. It's a percentage of the labor force. That's your mistakes, I guess. People over 65 are not excluded from the population. That's the trap. You only exclude the underage, right? The children, essentially.
But aren't they in retirement?
Yeah, that means they're not in the labor force, but they're still technically in the population.
In the population, okay. I think I was thinking about labor force, that's why. Okay, thanks.
That's a common error, and it's a trap. They put it there on purpose. Yeah, Emil.
Yeah, so I just looked at what I did, and because I got the 66 point something, but the 9.6% I multiplied it by the real labor force, like the 30 million one, not the whole population.
It's not the labor force. That's the population.
I multiplied.
Oh, okay.
I think you did what I did. I multiplied the 9.6. Oh yeah, no, never mind.
So
This is
so
about-
the 36 million, what is it? If the 30 million is the population, then what's the 36 million?
This is the population of Canada. This is the working age population of Canada. So when we talk about population in the labor market, we're talking about the population, but only those that are of working age.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like I did the 9.6% of the working population, like off of the 30 million.
Okay, so then we need to clear up the definition of unemployment. Unemployment rate is not a percentage of the working population, of the working aged population. It's a percentage of the labor force. So you have basically you have the population, okay? This is everybody aged 15 and more, okay? Within that, you have the labor force and those not in the labor force. And within that, you have the employed and the unemployed. So the unemployment rate is a percentage of the labor force. It's a percentage of the people that actually want to work. Retirees are not considered unemployed. Students are not considered unemployed. Unemployed is just the people that want to work, right? The portion of them that don't have jobs. That's what the unemployment rate measures.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, what I did, I multiplied I did the labor force, the employment rate, which was 17,706,000 times 1.096. It gave me like almost the right answer, but instead of 19 million, it gave me like 19,400,000.
No, that's the coincidence that you came that close, because that's wrong. You don't want to do it that way. You have to
Okay.
do it this way. Yeah.
Okay.
And Luca? Back before.
Yeah, I just have a question because I just did give me a second. I just did the subtraction obviously on top or for the bottom, sorry, and then I did 1 minus 9.6%, and then I got that, and then I just divided it from the total employed, which is like the 17,706,540.
And you got the same number, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. You're using the same formulas. Maybe you're not writing them down, but that's what you're doing.
Okay, yeah. Just have to make sure.
Totally fine.
Are you give me a
Okay.
sec.
33.
Can I do 33?
Definitely.
But I have a question regarding the last one, just like a quick one.
This one here?
Yeah. The reason why we do 1 minus 0.096, which is the unemployment rate, is because I get why actually why do we do that? Like 1 minus that.
If if the unemployment rate is 9.6%, that means the employment rate should be the rest, right?
The difference, is it always that case in every question?
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, okay. So for question 33, this one was like the most difficult question, like for me. So I'm really trying to work it out. So I realized in this question, the foreign currency was euro,
Good.
right? Yeah, okay. So the first step I did is I converted the euros. So I did 1 million Canadian dollars divided by the currency given, which is 1.36, what is it, 81? And it gave me 730,940.7203 euros.
Excellent.
Okay, so that is just converting it, right?
That is just converting it, yeah.
Okay, so the second step, what I did is I did the return for if you would invest that money in a German treasury bill. So I took that amount of euros and I multiplied it by the the interest rates given, 4.33%.
You multiply it by 4.33?
No, like the decimal, like 1 plus the decimal.
Oh, okay, good. 1 plus. I just want to make sure. Very good.
Okay, and the reason why, like, why do we have to add it with the 1?
That's the math, right? So you're going to earn, so after 1 year, you're going to have 4% more, right?
More, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So I got 762,590.45 euros. So the third step is I took that amount and converted back to Canadian dollars. So I took that amount, multiplied it by 1 plus the interest rate, which is 1.3524.
Don't do 1 plus here. Huh? You just that's not what you're doing here. It's just times the interest rate. So this, right? Because here, this is a return. This is just an exchange rate. When you're exchanging, don't add 1. Just.
Okay. Yeah, I see it in the question, so maybe I just said it wrong. Okay, and then I got 1,031,327 and 32. 325. I keep it at 325 just in case, Canadian dollars. So now the fourth step is to take. Sorry. So I have to try and figure out the return from like the 1 million, right?
Right. Okay,
so 1 million Canadian multiplied by the interest, which is 22.2% for the treasury bill. So 1.0. Yeah, what you wrote. So 1,022,000 and Canadian. Okay, and then I would have to take the difference for the last step. But why do we have to take the difference?
Arbitrage profit is like how much more you're making by doing this, right? So if you take the difference here, what do you get? What's the actual amount?
So 9,327 and 325. So is that a gain?
Yeah, because it's positive, basically. You're going to make $9,000 more by investing your Canadian dollars in Germany than if you were to just invest them in Canada. That's the arbitrage profit. It's how much more or less you're making.
Okay. So basically, like the whole point of this question is to actually see whether or not, like, it's arbitrage, right? So you put your money in one place and then you take it out and you invest in another place just to get that gain, right?
Yeah, to try and benefit from that higher interest rate, exactly. So rather than just leaving your money at home where you would have made, $22,000 profit, you took it to Germany, brought it back, and you made 31. So by doing so, you made 9,000 more. That's the arbitrage profit.
Okay, great. Is what I did right?
It's excellent, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so nervous.
John?
Yeah.
So to questions. First, I really don't understand why we would use this method. I find it more complicated personally, but that's
It's-
not important.
It's a question of preference.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and my second question is, I don't know if you remember in the first mock we had to like convert the exchange rates. So I made a link. I want to make sure this makes sense. So if the investment value, like if it's in CAD, if it's the same as the domestic, we don't change it, and if it's different than the domestic, we change it.
Very
Okay,
good. Yeah, you want your money to be in the domestic currency because you want to do it the other way, right? So then it matters. If you're gonna do it this way, that doesn't actually matter.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Ina. Julie, what's up?
Yeah, I did the other way.
Okay.
And I left like the new I at 4 decimal points, but I got in my final answer 9,300. And I just did it. Like if you leave all the decimal points, then you would get the exact same answer. But you said 4 was fine. So like, do you think
four is fine. The 4 is fine, but in this particular one I had mentioned, I think it was two mocks back. I would suggest more in this one because you're going to multiply your final answer by 1,000,000. So this is the only one that I would really say, although 4 is probably fine, you would probably be better off using 6 or 7 or even 8 decimals just in this question because we're going to multiply by 1,000,000. If I was multiplying by 1,000 or 10,000, it wouldn't make a difference. But because you're multiplying by such a big number, the 5th and 6th decimal all of a sudden come into play. So I would say just use more decimals for this question.
But John, normally in like on the exam, I know most people don't read the first page, but I do. Like for 308 yesterday, on the first page it says round your answers to 4 decimal spaces, and then if in the question they want you to round more, they say it.
Yeah.
that's usually for final answers? So
Yeah, that's it. And for 220, just so you know, last semester for 220, what they said was don't round at all. I mean, it was not real. They basically said don't round until you get to your final answer. That's a bit excessive for most questions, but I would recommend for this one, right?
Okay.
For those of you that are especially are going to do it the interest rate parity route, keep many decimals. 6, 7 doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. Ina.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I understood because these questions come up a lot and like it's different every time. So if you want your profit in terms of the domestic, like in terms of domestic money, then you would divide by your foreign, you would divide your foreign by the R rate, like the current spot exchange rate, whatever. But if you want your profit in terms of your foreign money, then you would multiply by the current spot exchange rate.
Sounds to me like you're asking basically just how to convert one currency to another.
Yeah, because I get confused a lot about that. Like here, they wanted it in
Right.
Canadian, so we divide it. But if they wanted it in like European or whatever, would you have multiplied by the 1.3524?
It depends what you have. So look, if I have 100 Canadian dollars, okay, and I want to convert that to euros, right? It depends on my exchange rate. If I tell you that the exchange rate is 1.3 Canadian dollars, okay, when the money and the exchange rate are in the same currency, you're supposed to divide. So here I would do 1,000,000 divided by 1.3, and that would convert it to euros, okay? But if I have euros and I want to convert it to Canadian, and I give you like this, when the money you have, let's say I have 100 euros, and if the money you have and the exchange rate are not the same, then you multiply. That's the trick to know if you should be multiplying or dividing. It really depends on what you have. Are you going from Canadian to euro or euro to Canadian? And what is your exchange rate expressed in? Is it expressed in Canadians or in euros?
Okay, yeah. So if you're staying in your own domestic terms of money, that's when you would divide like this example. But if you were to switch from Canadian to like European or whatever, that's when you would multiply.
If you're switching from Canadian to Europe, but the exchange rate, it's more about the exchange rate. If I tell you 1 euro is 1.3 Canadian and you have 100 Canadian dollars, if you want to convert to euro, you're going to divide by the exchange rate, right? But if you have euros and you want to use this exchange rate, then you're going to multiply because your money and the exchange rate are in different currencies. That's when you multiply. It's not about staying. It's about your money versus the exchange rate. Like, look here, we had 1,000,000 Canadian dollars. the exchange rate was in Canadian dollars, so I divided those two because this was CAD and this was CAD. Here, I had euros, but the exchange rate was in Canadian, so I multiplied.
Oh, okay, I think I get it. So basically you just want to find it in whatever terms that they're asking for. And here it just so happened to be the same, but it really just
Yeah.
depends on what foreign is and what domestic is, and here foreign happened to be euro. Okay, I think I get it. I think I get it.
Yeah. William,
So when doing these questions, the first thing you want to do is figure out which one is overvalued and which one's undervalued, right?
you don't actually need that. Like whether you decide, I know that some of your profs go about it that way, but that fact, whether you don't need that at all here to answer this question. You know what I mean? Like they just say you have $1 million Canadian dollars. How much arbitrage profit is possible? So the only way to earn arbitrage profit is to take it to the foreign market. So if you take your $1 million Canadian to Germany and you go through this process, you get your thing. Whether it's going to be a profit or a loss, right? That would probably depend on what was overvalued or undervalued, but that's conceptually. You don't actually need that particular thing to answer any of these questions. Like if you, I don't think you were there yesterday, but if you look at all the exams for the last little bit, it's always been exactly these steps. I think we had one of them where the answer was negative, and that's just what it is. That means that it was a bad idea to do it, but you don't actually have to publish that.
So when they ask for CAD, that means that you want to end up with CAD, which means that you borrow CAD.
Yeah. Exactly. You have this is what you're borrowing basically in Canada. You're going to go and lend it or invest it in Germany and then bring it back.
Got it. Thanks.
Exactly. Fawaz.
Yeah, so I did parity. I got the same answer. My question is, if it was euros, should we convert them to Canadian and proceed with parity?
Yes.
And after that, should we convert them?
No. You would do the same thing. If I gave you €1 million here, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and by parity, by the long method.
Yeah. No, if I gave you €1 million, you don't change this. If I said that this was €1 million, I would change the rates so that the rates are in euros, and then I would do exactly what you did.
So we divide the rates by 1.38.
Yeah, exactly. Like we did, I think it was 2 mocks back, right? You want to make sure that the money that you're starting with is in the domestic currency. So you don't change the money, but you can change the exchange rate.
The final answer should be in euros.
The final answer should be in the same currency you started with.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. 34. All right. Let's do 2 things, okay? Just because why not? Let's answer this question: how much tariff revenue will the government earn? But let's also just for the sake of it do deadweight loss. I just wanna. Why not? Right. This is our last thing together. So who can solve this question for us? Or wants to give it a shot?
Can I try, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, so first of all, I consider the world price. The world price is 5.54, and I decided to add the tariff to it, so the 2.18. So the world price with the tariff is going to be 772.
Hold on. 772. Okay, great.
Okay, so what I did right away, because they asked for the revenue, so it's pretty simple. I just put the world price with the tariff in both the quantity supplied and quantity demanded equations.
So if I plug that into, hold on, what'd you get for demand?
Demand, I got 392.216. And for supply, I got 155.724.
155.724.
Okay, so imports is quantity demand minus quantity supplied. So 392.216 minus 155.724. I got 236.492. And then I just multiplied it by the tariff, 2.18, and I got 515.55.
$515.55.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody agrees with you. Very good. So if I only asked you A, that's how comfortable I need you guys to be. Don't make a graph for government revenue. Don't make a graph for government costs. You don't need it. You need a graph, or I would suggest a graph for deadweight loss, consumer surplus. Okay, perfect, Rob. Now let's go to try and do deadweight loss now.
Okay, well, I didn't do it, but I'm gonna do it like as I'm going right now. So with the deadweight loss, we're gonna have to find well, we have to technically, yeah, we have to draw the graph.
I would suggest it, yeah.
So
what
the world price 5.54 would be like right below the equilibrium, not like right below, but just like, yeah, exactly right there. And then with the tariff, the 7.72 would be just above it.
like that?
It exactly. And now so we have the imports with the tariff and imports without the tariff. The imports without the tariff is going to be to the far left and to the far right. That's going to be with the tariff. So yeah, the far left and right is without. So if I would do, so in order to find the quantity supplied without the tariff, we would have to put 5.54 in the quantity supplied equation, which would give 141. Yeah, so that would give you 141.118.
141.518. Okay. This one we have it. You told me it was 155.72.
Exactly. Then the other one is giving me 392.216.
Yeah.
And then without the tariff, you're gonna have to put it in the quantity demand equation. Now it's gonna be 429.712.
429.712. 429.712. Okay, good.
So now the deadweight loss is the two triangles on the left and the right.
Excellent. Amazing. Yeah. Now you're smooth sailing right to the end. So the deadweight loss is this triangle and this triangle. Okay.
Exactly.
How are you gonna do it?
Well, it's base times height divided by 2. So we're gonna do 7.72 minus 5.54 times 155.72 minus 141.518 divided by 2 is gonna give you 15.48. And now the other one is going to be the same thing, 7.72 minus 5.54 times 429.712 minus 392.216 gives 1.74128 divided by 2, 40.87. So the deadweight loss is going to be 15.48 plus 40.87 equals 56.35 million.
Was it millions?
Yeah.
Very good. And again, perfect. It starts with knowing where your stuff is. So as soon as you knew that those two triangles were your deadweight loss, you knew that it was just geometry standing between you and the final answer. If you don't know where it is, you're guessing. You're like, oh, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? You know what I mean? Like, we've seen so many different ones that you have to know that right away. Michael.
Yeah, John, for this type of question, what else can they ask?
Consumer surplus, producer surplus, government.
Change? Is it possible to
ask for the
change? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
The change of what? The
change in consumer surplus, change in producer surplus.
Okay.
So
okay, cool.
That's right. If you look at the notes, right? I mean, I don't know when you joined the weeklies. I don't know if you did, but we did, like, at the beginning of the semester, anyways. We did every single